Average CEO reads 56 books per year. If you read, and all the time, or if you read 8 books a month, 100 a year, to
have
me,
a very honest conversation with yourself.
How to raise money. So I read 10 books on raising money. Going and hey, how to start a media.
The average CEO reads 56 books a year, and I read 70 in 7 months. Now, in this video, I am going to be sharing with you the real life applications of this book into my daily life, in the hopes that you can apply these tips for yourself, and if not, be encouraged to read these books for maybe not 70, but I'm sure that considering the other average is 12 books a year, which was what my average used to be, and I used to hit maybe 3. Without further ado, let's just go straight in. At number 1, we've got Atomic Habits. Now, with Atomic Habits, what I was able to apply from the book was the simple law of compounding. So what that means is that every day I was adding to that compound deposit some sort of positive activity that over the long run would turn out to be a massive, big action or big improvement that I wanted to see. Prime example, fitness, 10 press-ups a day equated to 3,000 press-ups a year, right? The author also summarizes the ability of thinking and acting on your actions, just like every other book that is on mindset, but more importantly, the daily actions that it takes you to get there. 2, we've got Psychology of Money. Now, this is a copy and paste book in regards to savings, investments, and learning how to manage money and creating wealth for yourself from a very realistic position. So in terms of financial books, I highly recommend this book if you're someone that's very analytical or someone that is looking at numbers or likes looking at numbers and wants to see how things simply make sense. The author made sure that he highlighted or provided a space for that to be done in the book. At number 3, we've got 48 Laws of Power. Now, I've been manipulated before. Yes, I've been manipulated before. And not once, not twice, countless times. And it was good. It was good. You know, they halfway through, I'm like, you got me. You got me again and again.
I will never change. Never, ever.
If you're someone that is naive and you believe the best in people and you want to save the world, no, because we don't do negativity, of course not. Read the book. It will tell you how to stop being manipulated. It actually breaks down what tactics they use. And so not only it helps you save yourself from manipulation, but it helps you protect your family, your loved ones, your friends, or whoever may be manipulated into not being manipulated. So let me make this as simple as possible. If you have a gun, you can take it to a gun range and shoot a pigeon. The vegans may disagree with this, but that same gun can be used to shoot the instructor. Now, who is the bad person? The gun or the person? The person, because that's the person that has the choice. So you can use this book for evil or use it to benefit and bring your family, friends into a better place mentally. 0 to 1, number 4. The author in this book describes the story of PayPal, the connection they had with Elon Musk, the partnership they built. It's a business book, and what I learned from it was the simple act of resilience, partnership, business strategies that I am not going to share because they don't have much to do with self-development, but they have much to do with business. So if you're a business person, definitely read this book. And if you want to understand Elon Musk and the story of PayPal, this is the book for you. Hustle harder, hustle smarter. Now, in this book, 50 Cent describes his story, how he's Never, I don't think he met his dad, but his mom died at a young age, and his grandparents had to take care of him, but he had to join the streets from a very young age. How I applied the knowledge is very simply, I started listening to his song a lot more because I understood where he came from. You know, about he got shot 9 times. Of course, he wasn't going to miss that. Talked about, which I kind of learnt or took on board, is the fact that the streets are just as bad as the business world. If anything, the business world is actually a lot more ruthless. Now, I kind of knew that because I've been in the corporate world for a while, and I've been fired quite a few times, and it was brutal. They just didn't care. They said, "You're not cutting it. You're gone. Get out of here. Shove it." Right? And, to hear 50 Cent share the fact that he's been on both worlds and he thinks the business world is actually more ruthless is crazy to hear, because a lot of people will actually think the opposite. Another thing I learned is the art of hustling, being relentless, and never giving up on your dreams. Think Like a Monk. Ooh. Now, this book was about meditation, positivity, and the author, who was also a Londonian, that I think left London, which makes a lot of sense, discussed how important meditation is, how it changes your life, how manifestation we touched into. And what I took from the book was one of the key things that I've always started doing ever since I read this book, which is controlling your breathing. So when you're angry, when you're anxious, when you're agitated, what happens is your system is taking in a lot more air than it should. So because you can actually control your breathing, what you're meant to do is cool it down and then think or act or do whatever it is you want to do. But in order for you to do that, you need to make sure that you are relaxed first. Defining decade. Now, the author in this book speaks about making sure that you don't waste your 20s. They matter, and you should know or have an idea of what you intend to do with them, as they pretty much set you for the rest of your life. Don't waste them. That's the essence of the book. It's a psychologist who has different case studies of people that were in their 20s and ended up not wasting them, but thanks to her advice. 4-hour work week. Now, with this one here, if you want to escape the 9 to 5, you want to build, he's like the version of, I'm sure you've watched the Netflix, you've watched the show Money Heist. This is the book version. He literally talks about that. He's like Berlin, right? And he's broken down step by step what you need to do to escape the 9 to 5. And yeah, it works. Reality Transurfing. Now, not ideally the first book I'd pick up because of how thick it is, but in terms of the value and the quality and what it can do to your actual life, I highly recommend this book. Now, this book taught me that the world is a mirror. So whatever you believe, you're absolutely right. And not just that, it'll actually be your reality. So you need to figure out a way to bamboozle yourself into believing what it is that you want to believe. You basically need to be in charge of what you believe, because if you let things, this is one of the reasons why as soon as I heard how effective your sense of reality is, I deleted any sort of thing that affected it otherwise. So things like news, I stopped listening to news a while ago. I think after COVID I realized I'm just listening to people talking shit. Anything to do with just negativity, anything to do with that, I just said, yo, want no part in it. I don't need that in my world. I just need peace. And honestly, it's working its way through and is really doing, it's like, my life hasn't been the same after this book, 100%. Right, 12-week year. This book talks about time management and breaking down your year into 12 weeks and making sure that because you're accountable for every week counts, but not just that, but every day counts. So you're now treating every day as a week and every week as a month. I said that so smoothly. That tells you how many times I've practiced. "12 months to 1 million." That's our next book. Ooh, we're flying. So 12 months to 1 million was a blueprint to how to start an online business, from testing the product to finding where the demand is, to understanding the supply and demand mechanism, and selling your business to the right client, right? So in other words, it's a blueprint. And not just that, but the author also shares part of the story that made him who he is today. And if you're an entrepreneur or a businessman, you can definitely relate to what he's saying. The Alchemy, one of the worst books I've ever read. If you're into marketing, read it or not. I can't. This is one book I cannot recommend. Why? I think it's outdated. I don't want to say the wrong thing just in case I do meet the author one day, but I personally feel like this book is just not something I'll pick up ever again. It does have some good information. The good information it has, however, is to do with understanding how journalism and the news work and how they attract people to listen to them, which has nothing to do with me because they clearly didn't attract me. I stopped listening to them years ago. "100 million leads" talks about how to sort from outreach to literally from 0 to 100, to find out who to speak to, how to speak to them, how to reach out to them, and not just that, but how to make sure that these people now become your clients, and not just your clients, but their friends become their clients, their family members become their clients, and by doing so, you build a £100 million business. I think that's the best way to put it. 100 million offers, which is right next to it, which yes, I did read earlier on this week too. It's a book on offers, understanding how to benefit the person that you're speaking to in delivering an offer that they will feel stupid rejecting. Again, I have recited this time and time again. This is why I can tell it to you. "You Were Born Rich." Now, this is another book that I'm going to reread. It talks about understanding who you want to be and making that your reality by understanding that the only person stopping you from becoming that person is you. As long as you put in the action, as long as you believe that that is your reality, that will eventually become your reality. So become who you think you should be. Example, I believe I'm a YouTuber, so I am going to post weekly. I am going to post with quality. I am going to make sure that I apply feedback, and I'm going to make sure that my content makes sure that it hits home, delivers value, and gets you guys watching more of my content, right? That's how a YouTuber would think I'm assuming. The Alchemist. Now, this is a sick book, sick story of a shepherd who became someone that was able to bend his reality into what suited him at the time. And in other words, it's a book that helps you understand the power of the mind and the power of will. Now, you mix these two together, you're going to get yourself exactly where you want to be. Summarize the book, but that's pretty much what I got from it. Now, As a Man Thinketh is a simple book that I've read thousands of times, and again, the story is the same. What happens here is the author talks about your mind being a garden, and you needing to pluck out the weeds of that garden in order to maintain the garden in a very stable and well-kept way. What are the weeds? The weeds are negative things that you do not want in your garden, such as bad news, social media, wasting time, BS, or just gossiping friends, you name it. You know what's not good for you, remove it. Those are the weeds, and make sure that you protect your garden at all cost. That's 7 principles to make a marriage work. Now, this was a book I read just before I got married, and it delivered 7 principles that will basically, I'm not going to mention all of them because then there's no point in reading the book. And actually, I am still I'm gonna have to reread this book because I remember it, but just not as much as I should. So one of the things that they mention, however, is your tone. When you want to speak to someone, when you want to speak to your spouse, speak from a place of kindness, and not just speak from a place of kindness, but speak from a place of understanding that whatever they're going through or whatever your guys are facing isn't personal. It could be from work, it could be from somewhere. A prime example that I'll never forget is, hey honey, I need my sandwich. That's example number one. Exhibit number one. Exhibit number two, hey honey, I am so tired. Work has finished me. Would you mind preparing me a sandwich whilst I do this chore quickly? Absolutely. Which one, exhibit 2 or exhibit 1, which one's more likely to get the sandwich? Answer in your comments. Great CEOs are lazy. Now this book is a blueprint on how to build a business from scratch to finish, from understanding what lawyers do, bring in who to put in your board, how to select the right people, and how to delegate, the art of delegation. So what I gained from this book is how valuable is delegating, how valuable is to focus on the 80% and give the 20% to whoever so interested, but also how that 20% brings out the 80% of the work. So it's all a circle. Ultimate Sales Letter, 4th edition. What a waste of time. I'm joking. It was still a good book, just in case I meet the author. I think I'm a fan of most of the books I've read, but it's definitely outdated. It talks about sending a letter with a stamp. Come on, man. Kidding me. The good news is, however, the things I learned in the 7 years of my sales industry experience were actually still still are very, very valid things to apply. So I guess that's the good thing in it. Remember to shake a firm hand. Sorry, bullshit. But you should do that. That's still very valid, actually. Money Master the Game is Tony Robbins speaking to great investors such as Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett, and interviewing them on the basis that the question they're asking would be questions that can relate to us in terms of what would you do if you was to start all over? What would you do if you had £0? What would you do if your son was to start investing and you wanted to tell him 3 of the most important things to consider? One of the most important things I learned is the diversifying. So you want to make sure that your eggs are not just in one basket. And I think coming from an experienced position as well, I think probably that's a very solid place to be in, because it's like, if something's doing good, that's good. And if something's not doing good, then that thing's doing good. And if that's not doing good, then that's doing good. If that's not doing good, then that's doing good. And it's like, because of how well you're positioned, you're kind of like always winning. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, remember rule number 1. Now, that is the book, How to Start a YouTube Channel. The next one is the YouTube formula from our dear Mr. Beast, giving a whole sort of blueprint formula on how to do it. But there is nothing as good as experience. You need to experience it. You need to understand that you're not good at some things so that you can improve them. So that's, if I could summarize this book, is yes, the YouTube formula, how important the data is, but I'm not going to go into that. There's plenty of videos that can show you how to make sure. Superfans. What I learned from Superfans is the art of having a community. Now that community could be 1,000 people. It could be very, very premier and private, but it can still just be as effective as having a following of 1,000 of a million people. The difference is, however, in that community, you have more dedicated people. So in this book, the author basically talks about, I think his name is Pat Flynn, but the author basically talks about how important it is to just utilize the resources you've got to create a community, create some sort of group of people that can back your brand or back your whatever you believe in, your psychology, your belief system, because yeah, he's onto something. But 4 agreements: never take anything personal, never assume, just keep your word. Your word is bond. Just figure it out for yourself, man. But yeah, so 4 agreements, there's 3 of them. I've given you 3 of them, find out the 4.
I tried so hard and got so
How to win friends and influence people. Key, to summarize this book: be kind, make sure that when you come across you're likable, and the most important thing is people remember how you made them feel and not what you say to them. So if I could summarize this book, which is a sales book or connecting with people, is make people feel important. Just like you are, you're very important. And this is why I need you to subscribe. If you've watched this for so long, in order for you to keep motivating me to do things like this so that you can become even more important, I need you to subscribe. Subscribe, boy! Look at the percentages. It doesn't even make sense. You guys are watching this stuff and not subscribing. Come on, man. Innovation Secrets to Steve Jobs. Now, this book discusses our dear past friend Steve Jobs, his story, and not just that, but his mindset and his experiences. But one thing I've learned from it is always pick something from a different industry and then bring it back to your industry so that you can be ahead of your competition. And not just that, but let your message be simple, to the point, concise, but passionate, and focus solving someone's problem. Rest in peace, Steve Jobs. What a guy. Key person of influence. Now, in this book, very similar to Superfans, what I learned is the fact that 20% is making 80% of the profit, whilst the other 80% is focusing on squabbling between the other 20%. The difference is becoming a key person of influence. Now, what I learned from that is the fact that your reputation carries weight, your personal branding carries weight. And the moment you're able to leverage these things, and not just that, but you're able to utilize them as a powerhouse and utilize them as something that represents you, you're able to leverage a lot more than you think you will. So, great book. I read it quite a few times, so yeah, definitely highly recommend it. Laws of Human Nature. Robert Greene again has come in. He was angry, and he's one of the greatest human nature specialists that I personally know, because he just breaks down what to expect from human beings. I wish I met him before I got manipulated the 70th time. He saved my life. Yeah. To be fair, I should have known I was being manipulated. It was good. Damn. Power of Broke. Now, in this book, the owners of Shark Tank describe their story, their clothing brand, the power of having the grit, having the balls to chase what you want to chase. And it also talks about the fact that, you know, once you reach your target, it's very hard to maintain that. So recycling yourself into understanding that you came from somewhere, and because of that, you're going to have to keep pushing. It's a very sick concept, because I have seen that for myself. A lot of people, you know, like especially rappers, their music is so good on their way up. Then once they get up, they just start talking about money. I'm a flashy guy with flashy money, to the point where they don't even rap properly anymore. And it's ridiculous, right? It's painful to hear. This is why I listen to a few rappers, man. But solid book, highly recommended. Really, really gets you motivated. Awaken, the Giant Within. Tony Robbins has come again, and he's done what he does best. He shared with us the ability of deciding what to focus on. And not just that, but based on what you're going to focus on, understand that you're in charge of what you want to produce in your lifetime. The 50th Law, 50 Cent and Robert Greene came together and created a manual script for not just manipulation, but how to survive the streets. I think that if there was a degree, this is it. You read in 50 Cent, 48 Laws of Power, Hustle Smarter and Hustle Harder, and 50th Law. That's your street cred degree. You know, you could be Ghost. That's what I'm talking about. Not even Tommy, Ghost. Not even Franklin Saint, Al Capone. They give you the blueprint on every single strategy or trick that you could use to just outsmart everyone. The Lean Startup talks about running a company based on a lean structure that allows the profit to be maximized and the staff to be well managed and for the message to remain intact. Mention the benefits and the cons of having that, but more than anything, it talks about making sure that that's something that you're aware of, picking and choosing, especially in this current day and world. Everyone thinks that you have to employ 1,000 people. No, you can just generally run it off 3 or 4 people. So good book, highly recommended. Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss takes us through the ability to negotiate without actually negotiating. So this is a very sick concept, because what that does is it makes the other person feel like you're negotiating, but actually you're just going for what you wanted in the first place. So in other words, very, very sick book. And that did come from a place where the FBI didn't have a choice. Like, you can't say, oh yeah, just take his leg, as long as you bring him alive, it's fine. No, they had to bring him back and potentially not even send the money. So yeah, very good book to read if you're into sales and negotiating. Meditation. Marcus Aurelius talks about, it's very similar to the Bible actually, his mindset and his challenges, and in other words, just really focusing on how building your mind strength and not letting things affect you, but responding to things how you believe is best for them to be responded to, without the emotional drag or frustrations that come with that. So very good book. Invent and Wonder. Jeff Bezos. That's his story. The story of Amazon, the fact that he had a good job and he quit to start this profit loss company that had probably around 5 years, I think, on the loss, and then slowly started building up to profit. But it just talks about the resilience that it takes and the long-term gratification it takes for you to reach £1 trillion. So highly recommended book. Money. Now, this book simply talks about the fact that the more people you help, the more value you bring, and not just that, the fact that the individual was an investor who partnered with a company, who partnered with a business partner, and got himself out of the trajectory. It also talks about the usual preconcepts or concepts that we have around money, so it's like money's evil, the love of money. I never had an issue with this at all, because I was happy to be evil for the money. I'm doing toss, man. Toss. But you don't have to be evil, clearly, thanks to the offer. Becoming Bulletproof. Again, a CIA ex-agent talks about the different strategies that you can apply in real life in order to make sure that you protect yourself in the current world, such as going on holiday, finding out where the hospital is, and also making sure that when you're in a different country, utilize the local SIMs, because when you use the public Wi-Fi, you could easily get hacked or your information could be leaked, because that's what they do. Please don't hack me if you've watched this YouTube video. I didn't mean it. I was joking, guys. Don't know what happened to my beard. Oh my gosh, why is it so healthy? I have launched a product called the Mainmite. It's on Amazon. Buy it. Thanks. Cool. Cry Like a Man. Now, this is the owner of Reach Records, Jason Wilson. He owns a dojo, and he deals with emotional intelligence, especially for men. He's helped me a lot. He's inspired me. In fact, he's the reason why I'm also inspirational book. I think he's a much better I don't want to say this because I'm definitely going to meet him. It was a good book, great book. Guys, just read it. Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins. I can't lie, halfway through this book, I was like, this guy's crazy, fuck that. The guy ran with a broken foot in a marathon, not even for his life, in a marathon. The foot was broken. Instead of him dropping out, he said, no, I'm going to keep going. That's the level of crazy I need to be on. No, I thought at first, this guy, yeah, he's taking it too far. Then I was like, no, he's not. I just need to be as just. So definitely inspirational book. Talks about his story and talks about how he became this person that just couldn't be hurt. Highly recommended. $1 Million Habits. Now, this book has, again, blueprints on how to manage your money. Not just that, but how to understand the value that you bring into the market. And this was the book that gassed me. Apparently, read 30 books in a specific field that is the equivalent of a PhD. I was like, count me in, boy. I may have dropped out of uni, but apparently I got a PhD. What a fucking story that is. That's crazy. Your face, man. I got PhD, 70 books. So I still feel dumb. Right. $33 Laws of War. Robert Greene again smashed it. Talks about the strategies, such as, I'll give you an example. If you know you can't win the war, surrender, my boy. That is one of the biggest, easiest laws to apply, my boy. You can't win the war, surrender. Go back to strategize and just take a chill pill. It's not always about being right. It's about seeing the bigger picture. Just because you won the battle doesn't mean you won the war. So focus on the war, not the battle. Very simple way to summarize this one.
Baby, do you want
Now, Straight Up, as it is a motivational speaker, talks about the background, what it took him to get to where he is. Great book. Probably wouldn't read it again. Great motivational speaker though, but yeah, they tricked me into reading this one, to be fair. Well, it was a good book. It's alright. Yeah. After Alchemy, this is literally straight after it. Straight up after it. See what I did there. The Prince. This is Niccolo
Machiavelli.
Now this is called the Book of Wickedness. This is called the Book of Darkness. So if you're ready to find out what I learnt and applied from this book, subscribe. Yes, I know you haven't done it yet. Come on, don't lie to me. You know you haven't done it yet. Can you do it? Can you do it now? Is that doable? You're 37 minutes in and you still haven't subscribed. Are you taking the piss? Right, Niccolo Machiavelli. This book describes, by the way, Robert Greene was inspired to write the 48 Laws of Power based on this book. Niccolo Machiavelli is one of the inspirational people Robert Greene looks at. So that's a bonus tip, pro tip, like Alex Moses says. Let me talk about the book. I think I've given you guys way too much. It's not even that deep. Right, the book is about how the popes and the church leaders back in the day were operating as tyrants. They're operating as tyrants, generals. They let the power get to them. And this book describes exactly the steps they took. And not just that, but Niccolo Machiavelli describes the true nature of humans, which is half human, half animal. I'm a Christian, so I don't necessarily agree with that, but what I do agree with is the nature. So when you're dealing with human beings, understand that they could either be reasonable or be animals. And if they're animals, don't be surprised. Just be prepared to protect yourself from that. That's why, again, you gotta learn how to fight, my boy. You gotta learn how to fight, sis. That's just standard. Go! Now, the motives describes different styles of leadership. You can be the dictator, you can be the exchanger, but you can also be the servant leader. The servant leader is the leader that ensures that he looks after his team, he serves the team, and makes sure that the team wins. And he's willing to do whatever it takes to get the team to win. That's why I aspire to be that. So I'm gonna have to reread that many a times in order to get there. Essay on Humanism. Now, Mr. Einstein told us, wrote this book, and that's literally the selling point for this book. I don't think I gained much from it. This was when I realized, yeah, just because I'm reading doesn't mean I read everything. And yeah, this was one of them. I genuinely think he was part of the Secondary World War. That's what I'm gonna say. I don't even think I should have added this. I don't know. Weapons of Mass Destruction. Now, this book talks about the school education and the truth behind the institution, the fact that it was tailored for the Industrial Revolution. So the actual model's outdated, and not just that, but the massive or the richest people at the time, aka Rockefeller, had an influence over it because of the intent of turning it into an institution that produces workers. So as an entrepreneur, that's probably why you've been failing. And I'm glad I read this book because it proved my point. School's full of shit. Not necessarily. Yeah, it is. Think and Grow Rich. Now, this book is a very popular book. One of the things that I apply till this day is the counseling table. So in that counseling table, I've got people that I aspire to be like. When I'm facing an issue or a problem, I go in that table, as crazy as it sounds, and I just speak to them. I'm like, okay, what would this guy do? What would this guy do? Okay, what do you guys think I should do? Yeah, it's no brainer, bro. Come on, think. I think by now, you probably should understand the fact that reading how different people overcome their issues allows you to create your own way to overcome your issues. And it's beautiful because it's so liberating and it's so original at the same time, because it's like, it's a mixture of this, that. Like, I've got anime characters and fictional characters in that. Planning it out. Now, this is the story of McDonald's. Shares the end in the start to finish, or to the current day of what McDonald's is. I'm inspirational because he's come from humble beginnings, and yeah, there's still like a very, very prominent business. Like when you think of fast food, they're still just as active. So there's a lot to learn in terms of how to make sure that you build a prominent business brand and go from there. The values factor. What is important to you? What do you value? And then make sure that whoever your partner is or whoever you want to work with, you also understand their high values, and also make your value big, or as big as possible, enough for your values to be incorporated, for their values to be incorporated in yours. So your values align with their values, they're going to work well with you. People are not loyal to you, they're loyal to their values. So once you understand that, you don't take that personal, you can actually start getting the best out of people. But you'll get that on your way home. Reality Transurfing, again, I'm going to skip it, but yes, it's a chunky book. So the fact that I've read it again, yes, I needed my accolades. I definitely did add it there. Art of Seduction, Robert Greene again, comes again and lands a bang. And the bang is persuasion. Now, when you persuade people, you don't force them in, you don't push them to do stuff. People don't want to be forced. You want to be persuaded. You want to, it's an art. It's like, oh, I wonder if you, it's like you want to make it seem like it's their own decision. It's like it's a great book, and I highly recommend it. At number 60, we're rounding up, guys. We got Titan. Now, Titan was the biography of John D. Rockefeller, the richest man till this day, one of the richest men till this day. He, from the start to finish, his dad was named Billy, and he was a greedy fucker. But one of the things I learned is be your own tyrant, or someone else will be yours. or someone else will do that for you. So be your own tyrant, or someone else will do that for you. So yeah, he was a very disciplined man, Christian guy. He was just as bad as he was good. I rate him. I fucking rate him. Strangest Secrets I Believe. Simple book, but very effective. Very similar to As a Man Thinketh. It's about your mindset and removing limitations and believing usual shit. Yeah. By now, it's basically usual shit. But I read it because I was that stupid. I really needed to remind myself on a daily basis that, oh my gosh, I'm limitless. Oh God, I can't forget. Oh my gosh, I'm limitless. Oh, damn. Just forgot. Oh my gosh, I'm limitless. Damn. Fuck, I forgot. Oh my gosh, I'm limitless? No. Yeah, that was pretty much what happened for the past 7 months. And it's still happening. Oh my gosh, I'm limitless. Yeah. 10x rule. Grant Cardone explains the power of 10x in your efforts, 10x in your dreams, and 10x in your actions. Pretty much done. The Power of One More. Ed Miller, one of the best books I've read, talks about his story, his past, his present, how he got to where he's gotten to. One of the things that stood out for me were the fact that he is a believer in the power of one more, which just means that, you know what, I don't know how long I'm going to do this for, but I'm just going to do it for one more day. And that one more day turns into a week, that week turns into a year, then one more year, and one more decade. And he just talks about it's very similar to the compounding, but in a very different way. Another thing he mentions is that the fact that he splits his days in 3 days. So one day has 3 days. So from 9 to 12 is one day. From 12 to 6 is one day, and from 6 to 10 is another day. So that one day has 3 days. So he's very conscious of his time, very similar to 12 weeks per year, but even narrowed down and a lot more concentrated and dedicated to produce results than the usual 12, usual. You can imagine some of us plan for a year. I used to plan for a year. I used to think, yeah, as long as this year I've made slightly more than I did last year, I'm good. But this guy plans in days. So he's done 3 days in one day by the time. Like, that's how these highly effective people think, and that's crazy. Oversubscribed is the power of supply and demand, and premium pricing, and the ability to create that scarcity mindset that allows the consumer to think they're going to miss out. That's what I'm going to say, because I know some of you will become my competitors one day, so you have to go read this one for yourself. Yes, fuck you. There's no need for that. But I'm not telling you what's going to happen. No, I'm not doing that. Strangest Secret I Believe. Again, I read that again. Key Person of Influence, I read that again. Art of Seduction, read that again. Reality Transurfing, 12 months to 1 million. 10x Mentor is part 2 of a 10x rule from God Cardone again. It's an updated version with a lot more strategy and his story of how he went into this city with no money, no things. You probably heard it because he's used that ad so many times. I think I heard it before I actually read it in the book. And when I read it in the book, I was like, oh. And then he said it. And then he said it again. And then he said it again. And again. So yeah. Last but not least.
Our friendship would later become the foundation of the biggest company in the world. But we'll get to that. After graduating with a journalism degree in 1959.
Phil Knight, Shoe Dog. So this is the story of Nike. I did not know they used to work closely with Tiger. And so that's the story. So what I got from it is, you want to be ambitious, you want to chase your dreams, you want to chase your life, but don't do it at the cost of not being present for your family, or just make sure that at least your family is on board with your dreams. So we know Nike now. I use Nike, just not right now, but we know the power of consistency and turning your dreams into billions. And yeah, it's a beautiful story that basically describes from start to finish what Nike had to do and overcome in order to become who they are today. But there was definitely a lot of challenges, and it was an inspirational story because, especially as an entrepreneur, you can see how it's not the easiest thing to do, but once things start to kick off, they kick off. So without further ado, guys, thank you for tuning in today. I hope you've gained some value. I know that it's been a while. This is the equivalent of a Netflix show, so I'd be very, very impressed if I get more than 10 people watching this, because that just means I'm actually delivering value. And if I'm delivering value, then that's going to motivate me to keep going. But if you're still here by now, I need you to not just subscribe, but share a comment. Tell me what you think of these books. Tell me if you've read them already. Tell me if you think you're going to read them. Tell me if I've done a good job giving you the summary. The only one that I know I didn't do the good job for is oversubscribing. Like I said, fuck you. I'm not going to do that. Okay, I don't need to do that. I know. I need to be kind and gentle and nice to you guys. The craziest thing is that hope you enjoyed today. And look, I do have some bonuses. Pro tip, like Alex Omozi says. If you've enjoyed this video, then I'm sure you're going to enjoy how these specific skills reinvented my whole life. So somewhere here, stay powerful. Peace.